I see what, chaps and chappets, Game Chap and Bird here.
Yes.
Yes, fellows, and I dare say we are now discussing and looking here at a huge and very big update for Super Smash Bros., you know.
We most certainly are, old chap. Yes, indeed. Super Smash Bros. 3DS. There has been a major update here affecting some big things, including the characters.
That's right, old boy. I believe indeed I am right in saying that what we are looking at here is the first ever balance update in the history of the Smash series.
Most certainly, and we're not just looking at, as I said, little changes and things, but we're looking at actual changes to the characters. So if you're playing this game and you've been learning all these characters, you need to listen to every moment of this, because we're going to go through the different changes and things that have been, effects there's been on the new characters.
Now, of course, Fiddles, there are no official patch notes from Nintendo about this update. They don't actually tell you exactly what happens. So what we're basing this on here is observations of the game and community reactions so far. Now, this patch, of course, comes just ahead of the Wii U version, which is coming out soon worldwide, so perhaps these changes are based on community results and reactions so far, we think.
Well, it could possibly be, yes indeed, but as you say, there's nothing official, but it's definitely been happening. It's certainly official that the changes have been made to the characters, but of course, it's the community that's beginning to surface some of these, and we've been drilling in there and doing our homework, as it were.
That's right.
Finding out the facts for you.
Now, of course, Fiddles, as I said, this is the first balance update ever in the history of Smash, and it really, I believe, will stand to change the way the tier system and the community system actually works. Now, just before we continue, this update is required to play online, you have to have it, and also be careful, because all of your old replays, it'll actually break them and mean you can't play them back anymore, because they've changed the way the characters' movesets work. So if you like your old replays, it's best to perhaps record them with a camera or something like that to save them for posterity.
That's correct, yes indeed. It specifies that the local play, the online play and replays, etc., also will not work between versions. So if you're playing the new version and someone else has got the old one, they won't be able to join.
That's right, that's right. So a very serious and monumental update. Now, of course, getting into the changes, how have they actually changed the characters? Well, first things first, as you may know, there was quite a big glitch or technique, advanced technique, involving Link, Toon Link and Peach to do with bomb and turnip cancelling. Now, this of course was for advanced players and could mean you could perhaps reduce the amount of lag between certain moves. Now, that technique of bomb and turnip cancelling has actually been cut from the game. It's out and you can't do it anymore.
Most certainly. So now, if you were using, as Game Chap said there, Link, Toon, Peach, etc., and using that trick, or that little special move, as it were, you won't be able to use it anymore. They've just taken it completely out.
That's right. Now, to Link, I think. Now, also, of course, regarding Link himself, his F-Smash is now more accurate on the second hit at damages of up to 200%. Sometimes, of course, the second hit would actually miss when using Link. Not so much with Toon Link, but Link's second hit of that F-Smash is now more accurate.
So that one's in the note because, well, Link has become more accurate with that F-Smash.
That's right. Of course, that has been problematic, I think, ever since Brawl, but fans of Link will be pleased to know he can now kill more reliably. Now, another big change is to do with everyone's favourite baddie, that's Bowser.
Most certainly. Now Bowser, they have removed the Bowser side.
Oh no!
Most certainly.
The Bowser side is gone?
The Bowser side has been removed, now, apparently.
Yes, now what is the Bowser side? Of course, that involves grabbing your opponent with his side B claw grab move. He jumps up into the air automatically, and then the idea is to guide them off the edge and down to the blast zone below, particularly in Full Glory mode. But now doing a Bowser side will actually kill Bowser before it kills the opponent, so you can no longer use this to get a free win.
Most certainly. So just once again, if you've been using Bowser as your character and using that move, that's not going to work any more than 3DS version. That's out.
Or the
You'll
Wii
kill
U.
yourself.
Indeed, of course. Perhaps that move they thought was being abused, so they took it out of the game. Also, his F-Smash, when fully charged, now does a bit less damage. That's his big boot kick, as it were.
Yes, indeed. So less damage on that one. Interesting.
That's right, old boy. Now, as we showed previously also, Marth, Lucina and Ike suffered from a bit of a bad bug or glitch of sorts, whereby they'd have a problem with killing themselves if they used the counter move just after having the ledge stolen from them. Now, that glitch apparently has been fixed.
Right, okay, exactly. So once again, if you've been using that character, you'll have seen that problem. Of course, this works for the good rather than to the negative.
That's right.
That will now work. So he's going to be a little bit more powerful, a little bit more useful, Marth, in that particular move.
Certainly near the edge, I think, yes, if using the counter just after having that ledge stolen, it's quite an unusual circumstance, but it's very possible it could happen in an online match, resulting in an immediate kill for your character, but thankfully that's now been fixed. Now, also on the subject of glitches, Wario had a bit of a nasty momentum glitch, whereby if you held up after he was dealt some strong knockback, he would actually take off into the sky like a bally meteor, you know.
Ah, yes, indeed. Now, apparently...
Rocket, actually.
Well, yes, a rocket or a meteor, yes. But apparently they fixed that on Wario. So if you were experiencing that, you needn't worry anymore on the 3DS version because it's no longer there with this update, apparently.
Indeed.
Which is another change.
Again, perhaps I think this is something that might have been open to abuse, people perhaps using the rocket glitch to soar up into the sky and avoid further follow-ups. Rather nasty technique, but it seems indeed they've taken that glitch out as well. Now, also, a certain ninja character, Greninja, has had a bit of a heavy nerf, I understand.
Most certainly they have, yes indeed, a heavy nerf. They have removed the up, B, gimp and down air to shadow sneak cancel technique.
Really? I
Most
see.
certainly they've removed it.
Well, some people, of course, were using his down air where he stomps down to the ground and cancelling that landing leg with a quick shadow sneak. Now, you can no longer do that, so you have to suffer the landing leg after using the down aerial like any other character. And also, a lot of people, and this happened to me several times, were using his up B to quickly gimp the other player, which means to catch them in the water stream and mess up their recovery, thus giving you a cheap kill. Now, that's happened to me a few times, as I say, quite hard to avoid, but apparently that's also been taken out of the game once again.
Most certainly, so that's removed from him. That's a rather big nerf. I'm just thinking as we're going through these, lots of people have been learning these moves since the 3DS came out, and if they weren't aware of this and they suddenly get the patch, well, they'll see completely different characteristics going on with these characters,
Oh, yes.
and it could be quite detrimental to the game, so you've got to learn these quickly.
And there's no warning at all, Nintendo. Don't tell
No.
you these things, you just find out when you try to do them. Although
Well, certainly.
I have to say that so far, some of these things are actually quite good because they're removing exploits or abusive glitches, etc. and so forth that
Well,
might have spoilt the fun perhaps a little. I'm not sure on that though. Now, of
Maybe.
course, we come then to Shulk, you know.
Most certainly. Now, Shock, a 1 to 2% damage boost for many moves. Now, it doesn't seem a lot, but if you're using lots and lots and lots of them, that adds up.
I see, but Shulk was always a bit of a heavy hitter to start with, but it seems he'll hit even heavier now because you have that extra 1 to 2% damage boost on indeed a great number of his moves. Now, this may also stack with his Buster power, I'm not sure, but in any case, Shulk will certainly be dealing out a bit more damage from now on.
He most certainly will, yes indeed. And of course, another chap that will be dealing out actually less damage now is Ness.
Ness.
Now, Ness's down throw now only does 7% damage instead of 9%. Well, you think, well, that's only 2%, isn't it? But if it's a tight game, that can count.
That certainly can count. Ness, of course, relies on his throws to get some kills sometimes, particularly after a PK fire, so his down throw is now less effective, although only just. Also, I understand his PK fire has had a slight tweak. The initial hit now does a bit more damage, but it only has 8 consecutive hits thereafter instead of 9, so small tweak there perhaps to the way that works. Now, someone who's undergone quite a lot of changes with this update has to be Pac-Man, I think, old chap.
Most certainly, and we're quickly scribbling all these down in a notebook. I hope you're taking notes. We won't know where you are.
Ah, yes.
So most certainly, yes, Pac-Man, yes indeed. Now the hydrant lasts less time, and the grab is faster for start off for Pac-Man.
I see. That's right, of course. His down special move is the fire hydrant. Now, beforehand, that would actually last quite a long time and continue to spew out water until someone knocked it away. But actually, it'll now disappear after around about, I'd guess, 8 seconds or so. And also, his grab, which was very, very slow before, has had a slight speed increase, although not by much. It's still a pretty slow grab. Now, also, Pac-Man can't knock away the fire hydrant anymore with a fresh back air.
Ah, so he can't knock that one away anymore. So
Into the foe.
Most certainly. So he has been, well, yes, he's been nerfed in a way, and he can't do that anymore.
Yes.
Although his forward smash, this is the Pac-Man, forward smash is faster.
Faster, right, okay.
Yes.
So it seems they're trying to keep things balanced by perhaps taking out some undesirable things and also giving little buffs perhaps to make up for them.
Well, most certainly, but as I said earlier, these undesirable things that they've taken out will no doubt have been used by the community in some way or the other
Oh,
for
yes.
their advantage, you see.
That's
so
right.
They've been using these little things and extra bits and bobs, these little loopholes, to get the best over on the enemy.
That's
and
right.
Of course, now it's been changed and taken out. If you're not aware of it, well, the whole game changes.
And this really does set the precedent for Nintendo games. I mean, before we had Meta Knight in Smash Bros., we had Funky Kong on the Bowser bike in Mario Kart Wii. We had all these things that were used by everyone and just known to be the best. But of course, now Nintendo's threatening this thing of patches, it could totally change the way the community works.
Well,
So
exactly. I'm just thinking what you said there. What if it happens more than once? What if it happens on the Wii U one coming up?
Exactly.
You just learn a character and get really used to it, and all the little things that he can do. Suddenly they bring an update out. pow, and all the whole thing's changed.
That's right, so you shouldn't pick characters based on where they are in the tier list, because it could change at any time. They could suddenly say, oh no, all of a sudden, Sheik is no good, she's number 50 on the list now. You'll see, it can all change with these patches. So, also, Olimar. Now, unfortunately, Olimar suffers from a bit of a bug, and some people say it may have been fixed, some people say it hasn't. That is, of course, his Pikmin can seem to, well, let's say, they don't track him very well, they don't follow him very well. He can, of course, go to the other side of the stage, and the Pikmin might just self-destruct, or he'll lose them, they'll be left behind, etc. and so forth. Some people think this has been improved, others say perhaps not, although they have noted that some of the Pikmin attacks are now stronger and can do more damage.
Interestingly, so it's possible that those Pikmins are tracking him better. Perhaps.
Possible, yes.
Maybe, but it certainly does look that his attacks are stronger. So therefore, stronger attacks means obviously a better character because he's hitting stronger.
That's right, although I think he's still going to be a pretty rough character even after this update. He may need more work and perhaps buffs, I think, Elchap. Now, Falco, the space animal. His blaster may be faster.
The blaster may be faster. Well, ranged weapon, always useful if it's faster, I suppose.
That's right, it was slowed right down, of course, in this game, and they think the blaster startup and cooldown time may have been somewhat reduced. Now, also his spike, his down aerial, apparently is faster too.
Ah, so he's got a slight improvement in the spike down aerial, as you say. Now, well, that's going to give him a slight advantage over what he had before.
I think so. His spike is, of course, quite a strong move and hard to deal with. Perhaps they thought they'd nerfed Falco a bit too much, so they've given him a couple of little buffs, perhaps restoring a small shine of his former glory.
Perhaps, yes, indeed. Now, just before we move on to Ike, as I understand, I think you can't actually play online unless you take this update. So you're going to have the update.
Even if you don't like the changes, you'll have to take it. That's right. Yes.
To play online, you will have to have this update. So you've had it.
It's some sour medicine, I think, for some people to play, indeed, but they're going to have to swallow it. Now, as regards Ike, he has had some speed increases. Now, I understand his forward aerial is faster, as is his down tilt, and some people are saying that he jumps and runs more readily and faster.
Ah, do they really? So, it's various speed increases, in other words.
That's right. Now, Ike was a bit of a slow powerhouse in Brawl. This time, some of his moves are weaker, but it seems they've made him faster now, perhaps to compensate.
Aha! So, yes, a faster aerial could help him, I think, indeed.
That's right, a good range on that forward aerial. It's a downward sweeping sword slash, quite hard to avoid. A meaty damage, I think about 12%, so quite a strong attack there. Now, moving on to Palutena, Lady Palutena. Yes, she was, of course, a very weak character before this patch, and she may still be one, but it's one thing I've certainly noticed. I've used her a few times. Her tilts are now faster, particularly her down tilt is much faster than it was before, thus making her less vulnerable up close, I think. Also, they're saying that her auto-reticle, standard B move, may have a tad more range than before.
Ah, so you're saying that the Palutena, then, that you've actually used, this is after the update, is actually faster?
Yes, of course, her tilts were very, very slow before in all directions, meaning that if she was up close to someone, the other opponent could typically get in a hit before she could complete the move. But this time, they're actually a bit faster there. Again, I think, like Olimar, she'll need a bit more work to make her viable, but it's a step in the right direction, I think, Elchap.
Right, interesting. Now, Rosalina. Now, all of you out there who've been playing Rosalina will know, of course, they've got the little Luma helper there.
That's
helping her along.
And our previous tier list video placed her in the top spot, I think, as memory serves.
Yes, I think he did. Yes, Rosalina was up the top there, old Rosie.
That's right.
Very strong player. Now, Luma, you'll need to listen to this carefully. Luma respawn time is now 12 seconds instead of 8. Now that's 50% slower.
Ah, now that's a big change. That's a very big change to Rosalina and a considerable nerf because, of course, Luma basically is the bread and butter of her attacks. She really needs Luma to make a difference, and without Luma, I think she does fall down the tier list quite a lot. So perhaps many people are looking to take out Luma first when dealing with Rosalina, and of course now it's going to take a full 4 seconds longer, I should say, before Luma actually respawns once he's disappeared.
Most certainly, and there's not with other things as well with Rosalina. This could well have Rosalina players thumping the desk, as it were.
Yes.
Because the neutral aerial also now does less damage and rather less knockback, I believe.
I see. So a nerf in that department. And also, the perhaps in her favour this time, though, the Luma recall time has actually been reduced considerably. In other words, Luma should take less time to get back to Auntie Rosa once he's been sent away.
Aha, right-ho. Well, at least that's a positive, I suppose.
That's something, I suppose, yes.
Most certainly, so watch out.
Yes, another character, of course, used very commonly online, quite high on the tier list, Little Mac.
Ah, yes, Little Mac. Now, Little Mac's jab combo is going to be less powerful, and it is actually now anyway.
That's right. That, of course, is his flurry of fists. He goes shoo, 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 like that, you'll say. And, of course, that did quite a lot of damage before, but apparently this time, if you're going to use that combo in the standard way, without getting too greedy with it, as it were, you'll only see about 13% return from it.
Most certainly. You see, in other words, less damage than before, and less damage is worse.
That's right.
Obviously.
I think it was very strong before and quite hard to escape, but apparently only about 13% on average from it now. And also his KO punch.
Ah, yes, now, the Little Mac's KO punch. And now it kills earlier.
Earlier, so it's a buff
yes,
there, I say.
So it's a buff. So they've taken something away and given something back. But how that works out in the play of things in battle, who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
This is going to encourage people to take risks with their KO punch. Of course, it can kill in an instant, but of course it does have some cooldown time to be aware of, thus giving the opponent an opening. So if you choose to use that, watch out, fellows. Make sure you time it right.
Most certainly. So what's that for Little Mac players there? Quite an upplayed character, certainly in terms of how good he was compared to others, has had a buff and also a nerf.
Bit of a nerf there.
Yes,
now, what about the lady in spandex, old chap?
Yes, now Zero Suit Samus, for all of you out there who play Zero Suit Samus,
yes,
her stun shot can now be cancelled by punching it.
Really?
A big and necessary nerf, apparently.
Well, this is interesting. Now, of course, her stun shot was formerly used to keep opponents at bay and keep comboing them basically forever. But now, apparently, at least some characters we know can actually cancel out that stun shot with a punch, perhaps more so than before. So, if so, that will be good news for those of you who used to fight Zero Suit Samus quite a lot. But if you play as her, you'll be interested to hear also her uncharged stun shots now have a slightly longer cooldown time.
Ah, so you've got to wait longer now.
Between uses, that's right. Apparently, though, her fully charged shots don't have any less of a cooldown time or any more, but also she's had various technical nerfs, such as her forward smash being easier to hit with and many other interesting small changes which will adjust the way she works. So if you are a Zero Suit Samus expert out there, get out there and learn her new combos and setups, etc. and so forth.
Well, most certainly. And just quickly before we move on to Yoshi, why are they doing this? They presumably have been listening to the community or in some way or the other.
Or watching the replays.
Or watching replays, or just sneaking online and generally playing themselves or whatever.
Yes.
And said, oh, well, we think that people want this, but the thing is, what do you think? Maybe we don't want these things.
Well, we don't know. Certainly,
let us know what you think.
This might give the tier list a bit of a shake-up, I think, old chap.
Could be, yes, indeed.
Now, we move to Yoshi, that's right.
Yoshi, straight in there. Now, Yoshi still has absurd damage on the down aerial, 32%.
32%, that's just vast,
which is huge.
That's obscene.
Yes, and most aerial moves are free of lag.
I see. So Yoshi still is very much a competitive and viable threat there.
He is.
I think, to be honest, he perhaps borders slightly on broken, old chap. He really is very strong.
He is, yes.
But apparently the egg teleport glitch has been removed, so at least that's one good thing.
So the old teleporting egg glitch there has gone. So if you were using that, you can't use it anymore.
Indeed, old boy. Yes, quite an interesting, perhaps situational move there, I think, but it's gone all the same. Now, moving on to Robin the Tactician. Now, this is quite an interesting change, because Robin was, of course, quite balanced before, but they said, nope, we need to change him, and here's what they've done. They've changed his kill percentages. Now his F-Smash apparently can kill a bit earlier now, which is quite interesting, at around 110%, but also his other smashes on the flip side, his up and down smash, will actually kill a bit later, at about 20% later to be precise. Now also, his Levin Sword respawns about 2 seconds slower, whilst Nosferatu 2, his down B, HP draining move, respawns slightly faster, about 2 seconds faster.
So that seems to be quite a few nerfs there, and then just one little buff at the end.
Well, yes, just the F-Smash being buffed. Of course, I really don't know if Robin did need that nerf, to be honest. I mean, he does have quite a hard time killing sometimes, but there you go, fellas.
He's going to be a tough character to use now, isn't he?
Yes, perhaps a change of tactics required there for the Tactician. Now, also, Samus Aran in her power-armoured state. Her homing missiles on the side B, they're saying, are faster.
Right, so ranged weapons there increased for Samus in the suit there, being faster, apparently.
And if anyone needs a buff, it's Samus. She really is a bit weak, I think, old chap, in the grand scheme of things.
Well, maybe those faster missiles will give her a bit of an advantage.
Perhaps, old boy, we'll have to see. Also, in the area of the low-tier characters, Ganondorf. His Ganon kick now travels, I think, just a fraction further. That's a down B special move. All other techniques seem to still be present. For example, Ganon's side actually works, unlike Bowser's side.
So there's one to remember. The Ganon side trick, that works on him with Ganondorf,
Yes.
but of course on the Bowser side it doesn't work. So
That's right.
you've got to make sure you don't get those mixed up.
Of course, the Ganon side is quite hard to perform as compared with Bowser's side, but it does give a good reward. That is, if you can pull off a Ganon side, you'll win and the opponent will lose. Now, also, Ganon's neutral aerial and possibly his Thunderstomp may have a bit less landing leg, which will of course be good news for any user of Ganondorf. Then we move to Luigi, whose aerials are now much faster apparently.
Yes, Luigi, yes, the number one man. Apparently his aerials are much faster, as you say. His up aerial is now almost as good as Falcon's, although with less range.
That's right, of course. He can now do 2 to 3 aerial moves with just one full jump. I believe up and down aerials that applies to, so he's much faster in the air and perhaps a bit more of a threat. Now, Mega Man, meanwhile, has seen his back aerial reduced to 12% damage from 15%. His rush cancelling technique has been removed. That's another advanced technique that's been taken out of the game, and also he has a bit larger hitbox on the up aerial.
Right, so they've actually, with Mega Man, actually taken a move completely away from him. Never mind
Well,
that nerf or buff.
It's not a move as such, it was a technique that
Well, a
some
technique,
people
yes.
use. For example, like Greninja's Shadow Sneak technique after the down aerial. Now, also on Mega Man, he has a bit of reduced recovery time on the Leaf Shield after firing it, which is of course a small buff in his favour.
Right, so once again there, little buffs, but other things that have completely changed the character.
That's right, so watch out if you're using him. Pikachu, old chap.
Yes, now Pikachu, the Thunder, the Skull Bash, and the F Smash have had knockback increased.
Ah, that makes the electric rat a little more dangerous there, I think, old chap.
Most certainly.
Or mouse, if you prefer.
Well, yes, the mouse, whatever, yes. So increased knockback for all of those. Now, of course, that's very, very handy, especially if the character's near the edge.
Well, indeed, I just hope they don't increase the Thunder's power too much, because in Brawl it was certainly quite broken, I think, old chap. Pika, you know. Now, also Meta Knight. I understand Mr. Meta Knight, he's in the corner like a discarded toy, old boy. He's just laying there in a dark corner gathering dust. All of the so-say pro players have just ditched him and moved on to someone else. But it seems indeed the chaps at Smash Bros. HQ have taken pity on the poor fellow, and they've given him many buffs and earlier KO potential on many moves, perhaps to encourage people to play as him again.
Ah, now this is interesting. But if they were indeed moving right in and say, well, people don't seem to be really using Meta Knight very much, let's just give him a load of buffs.
That's right.
Well, that's all very well, but you now got to learn those buffs and find out whether he really is a big player, in comparison to the rest.
Certainly, I think he'll never be as powerful as he was before, but if indeed these buffs are enough to convince some people to play as him again remains to be seen.
Well, yes, most certainly. Now, earlier KOs is going to be a big advantage, I would think.
That's right, of course. That's what I'm concerned about, old chap, certainly. And, of course, we have Sheik, whose bouncing fish and up aerial actually now are killed a bit later, so perhaps it seems Nintendo have been paying attention to the tier list, because we've seen quite a few top tier characters there who have had small nerfs.
Yes.
So later kills, various tweaks to make them perhaps slightly less powerful in certain areas. Meanwhile, low tier characters have also taken a small amount of buffs in other areas, and sometimes, we've had just medium characters like Robin getting inexplicable nerfs, so they really are tweaking and playing with the system, I think, old chap.
Well, they are indeed. So this is a really big update. Possible, I think it's the biggest update we've ever seen to Smash Brothers, isn't it?
Yes,
it's the only, I think.
The first balance update for Smash Bros. It's quite an exciting time. But
Yes.
of course, fellas, what do you think of these changes? Are they warranted? Are they wise? Are they unwise? What do you say?
Well, most certainly, it's what do you say? And I think, looking at it, this is obviously going to be the first of many more. This could go right throughout. It could be one after the other. And indeed, they could start it with the Wii U version coming out soon. And for goodness sake, come back in a few days when that comes out, because we'll be all over it.
We will, old boy, and indeed I think it would be wise to call changes for the Wii U version in the pipeline too. I certainly think they'll want to keep this game fair and balanced for all, and they're not necessarily interested in preserving the status quo of tier lists.
My goodness me, no, not indeed. So there we are. If you're out there now, put notebooks and pencils, you've got all your notes, go and find out what on earth's going on, and make sure you're a big player in the game again.
That's right, it'll take some training, I think, to master these new changes, but there you are. Do join us again, fellows, in the next exciting Super Smash Bros. News. We look forward to seeing you then. Until then...